we just published a new post on Substack about the Gonzalo Lira situation. I'll let you talk about it. The only thing I want to say is that I'm amazed by your allies being so dismissive and they're so terse about it when you have made such a tremendous effort to explain yourself, including a 3-hour Twitter Spaces, at least a half an hour here with me, and now your most extensive article yet. So maybe they'll at least acknowledge that you've given an explanation that they could possibly address. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm at the point where you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But with all due respect to everybody, and I mean everybody, and I'm talking about you, Larry Johnson. I'm talking about you, Brian Bertelic. I'm talking about the Duran people that I like. I think they're nice people. I don't know Brian, so I can't say I like Brian because I've never met him. That would be disingenuous. But I like the Duran. I like Larry Johnson. But back the fuck off. And there I am using the F word. You guys don't know what the hell you're talking about. Let's put it in proper perspective, please. We're at war. Okay, you may not think you're at war, but we're at war because the other side, those guys that we always criticize, the Ukrainians, the Nazis, the SBU, all these bad guys, they're real. It isn't a figment of your fucking imagination. They put out a hit list called the Mirtvorets hit list. I'm on it. Some of you might be on it. It's not a fucking joke. They kill people. Okay, they have an organization called the Center for Countering Disinformation. You know what they do for a living? Information warfare against you, whether you want it or not, whether you think you're the bad guy or the enemy or combatant or not. They view you as the enemy. They call you an information terrorist. I've seen a lot of people going, that's a ridiculous concept. I'm not debating the point, but what I'm trying to tell you is they view you as an information terrorist. And from their perspective, that means you're a terrorist with all that attends. That means you can be killed. That means you're a combatant, an enemy combatant. You don't have any rights. We're at war. Wake the fuck up, guys. You're out here pretending that this is some sort of debating club. It's not. It's not a game. It's real. They will kill you. They have already killed people. They're going to kill more people. They've tried to kill people. It's not a game. So for you to sit there in your little cloud and pretend that what happened to Gonzalo Lira is just a fucking sense of coincidence, man. Oh, yeah, he was arrested by the SBU. The SBU, the people who made the Mirtvorets hit list to kill people. By the way, Gonzalo Lira was on that list. Why is he still alive if he was in SBU custody? Question number one. Answer that one. You can't. He was arrested for what? For carrying out actions that the Ukrainian government deemed to be information terrorism, which they liken to terrorism. He's a fucking terrorist in the custody of the SBU who kills people like him. But they released him 5 days later. Yeah, they took his computers, they took his phones, but they let him get another computer and hop right back on the internet to do the exact same information terrorism. And nobody asked a fucking question. How stupid can you be? We're at war, people. This isn't a game. The SBU flipped him. It's called a police confidential informant. Hey, Larry Johnson, fuck off. You and your CIA guy. What a disingenuous answer that was. Really? No one talked about the CIA recruiting an American citizen. You made that shit up. I never once brought it up. But you know goddamn well what the CIA does, especially when they're dealing with people that cause paperwork, you silly, stupid person. That was disingenuous, Larry. You know what the CIA does when they have a problematic source like that? They get a friendly service to flip them for them. Yeah, Larry, you know it. I know it because we've done it. I don't know if you've done it. I've done it. Flip them. Let the other service run it. Then you reap the benefits of their job. They have the paperwork. You don't have the paperwork. God almighty. But to pretend, and this is what bothers me, Larry Johnson went out of his way to try and denigrate them when he knows better. He knows goddamn well that they flip people like Gonzalo Lira all the time. For what purpose? Intelligence collection, human intelligence, to get a man on the inside. Cops do it every single day in America. They do it around the world. Intelligence services do it all the time. And yet suddenly, boom, it can't be done to Gonzalo Lira because you fucking like him. God, how stupid can you be? We're at war, people. This is a real war. The Ukrainians view this as a matter of life and death. They're not fucking around. Gonzalo Lira was flipped. And everybody goes, well, I was on his round table. There was a great conversation. I don't understand the intelligence value. Then you don't understand intelligence. I laid it out for you in the article. Read it. Understand that the very process of carrying out the round table gives invaluable insight on the part of Gonzalo Lira's handlers into the behavioral psychology of everybody involved. We're at war, people. They actually have teams of people that evaluate the behavioral psychology to find points of tension, to break teams up, to artificially create teams. Who led those roundtables? I spent a lot of time watching them, man, a lot of time. Gonzalo Lira led them. He was like a conductor in the orchestra, and you became a goddamn member of the orchestra. Hey, Larry, play the fiddle a little bit more. Hey, the Duran, bring up the trombones. Brian, bring in the bass. That was Lira. Boom, 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 boom. I watched it. He manipulated you. He controlled the entire tone, tenor, content. He got you to commit to shit you may not have committed to any other time. He was in charge. And you think he wrote the goddamn script? Nope. SBU wrote it. He was working for them, collecting behavioral. Now, people say, to what end? Well, again, if you read the article, you'll see that they do these things called events. It's event driven. They want an event. Let me tell you what event they just got. They got me calling Larry Johnson, a man I like and I respect, a dumb shit on a podcast. That's what they got. Okay, they got Mr. Ritter, Mr. Pavlov's dog. They rang the bell and I jumped for it because they know who I am. They know how to tweak me up. They know who you are. They watched you on the round table. They watched you cave into Lira, to crawl to the throne of Gonzalo Lira and bow before the king of shit. And then they knew that they could tweak this thing up and get this fight going. At least I have the balls to sit there and call it what it is. At least I have the honesty to say this is what's happening. All right? None of you do. We're at war. Gonzalo Lira is a conspirator. He's a collaborator. You know what they do to collaborators in the old days? Pop. I'm not asking for that, but I'm saying that's what he is. He's not your fucking friend. He's a man who caved into the enemy and was doing their bidding because they're at war against you and they want to kill you. They want to disrupt you. They want to deny service. They want to demonetize you. They want to do all the things that they're doing on a daily basis because they're at war against you, against me, against everybody. And if you don't treat Gonzalo Lira as what the evidence shows he is, a confidential informant working for the SBU, then you've lost this war. You've lost this battle. And you're my enemy now because I'm at war. I'm on a target list. I'm not going to sit here and play goddamn games anymore. If you guys want to invite me on your show, I'll come on your show. If you don't, tough shit. I don't want to be part of it anymore. You guys have given in to the enemy. You're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. Gonzalo Lira is an SBU confidential informant. He's an SBU asset. Do I have proof? Got a whole bunch of circumstantial evidence. But you know what? In times of war, and anybody who's been in war, in an intelligence war, Larry, come on, you know this. When the red flag goes fucking up, you don't wait for proof, man. This isn't a court of law. This is war. There are enough red flags here to sail a ship around the world. And yet you're not calling what it is because you got co-opted. You got co-opted. Every single one of you got co-opted by Gonzalo Lira. I did too. Prior to his arrest, I got sucked into the Gonzalo Lira aura. Everyone's like, you got to go on Gonzalo Lira. So I went on Gonzalo Lira. Then they're like, oh, Gonzalo Lira's going to make you and break you. He could do things. He's calling up saying, I can get you monetized. I can do this. Mr. Dealmaker, come on my show. I'm going to introduce you to people, make shit happen. And I'm sitting there going, oh, cool. I've never done this internet shit before. It's all a cool ride. Then he got arrested. Red flag. I was like, something's wrong here. And then in June, he came out with his video. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Don't trust Scott Ritter anymore. Brian Bertelic calls it a TIFF. I call it a red fucking flag, Brian. That's why you were an electronic optics repairman in the Marine Corps, and I was an intelligence officer. Yeah, I'm saying it, Brian. You can do your geopolitical analysis, but don't pretend that you know anything about intelligence because you don't. Not one thing. And yet you're out there saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm crazy. That's okay. You're on the side that's going to lose. You're on the side that's been co-opted by the SBU. You're on the side that's going to be discredited. I'm on the side at least trying to win. This is an information war. This is about right or wrong. You know, the consequences of this aren't trivial either. You all do know that this information war that we're involved in is part of a struggle that includes the United States strategic objective of defeating the Russians. And you know what the consequences of Russian being defeated are, don't you? Let me tell you, nuclear fucking war. We all die. So wake the fuck up. Start playing the game the way it's supposed to be played by knowing what the rules are. And the rules are when somebody is arrested by the SBU for a crime that normally gets people killed, tortured, murdered, released 5 days later and given access to a computer to do the exact goddamn same thing, stay the fuck away. But y'all went crawling to the round table. Y'all went bowing down at the throne of Gonzalo Lira, and you were all co-opted. And it shows today by your inability to recognize what reality is, to call a spade a spade. That took more than 3 minutes. I deserve to be whipped. Plus, Marina's going to kill me for swearing. But I had to.
I won't kill you. And I want to add that Brian blocked you on Twitter, which I think is a real cuck move.
Yeah, for Marie. Hey, Brian, if you're listening, fucking pussy, block me. Come on, man. You're Mr. Intellectual, Mr. Geopolitics. You wear a goddamn.
Come down. And let me say something about Larry Johnson, too. You previously had a disagreement with Larry, and one of our first episodes, Larry was our guest, and he came on and he debated you. It was very civil, and it went great. Not just my opinion. I communicated with Larry afterwards, and he agreed. It went great. He'd love to come back. So cut to this episode. I invited him to come on last Friday's episode to debate you on this. And he replied in a text, I'd love to, but I have dinner plans. So then I got back to him twice, looking to find another day and time because I took him at his word. He said he'd love to. Yeah, but he's ignored me since then. So that's how much he'd love to. Now watch him in what he said in another podcast.
Case of Gonzalo Lira.
Yeah.
It's so everybody's talking about this. Scott said that he's a Ukrainian SBU asset.
Yeah, that's crazy. So if you're going to be an asset of the SBU, you're going to be doing the work that's going to benefit the SBU, correct? I don't get it. I mean, so what is it? I've asked people this. I've yet to get a good answer. And I hope to ask Scott. What is it that Gonzalo Lira did that benefited the SBU? Just name me one thing.
Disingenuous is exactly the right word for him. Here he is pretending, oh, he's so anxious to get this information as if you haven't given a full explanation. And here I can tell you that we've tried hard to get him on and he won't come. So
well, it's disingenuous. Not just that, but I just wrote an article, Larry, read it. I spell out in great detail what you already claim to know. See, Larry and I have talked about information operations before, not in the context of Gonzalo Lira, but Larry knows what an information operation is. He knows what covert human intelligence activity is online. He knows all this. So for him to sit there and say, I don't know what they could do, either you were never a fucking intelligence officer, Larry, and your whole goddamn resume is a joke, or you're being disingenuous because you don't want to hurt your good friend Gonzalo Lira's feelings. You know what a fucking information operation is, Larry. You know it. You know what behavioral science is, Larry. You're in the CIA. You goddamn well better know it, or you're getting senile and you forgot it. I don't mean to be dismissive or rude, but come on, Larry. Crazy? What crazy is you pretending that he wasn't flipped and he wasn't doing stuff. You do understand that the round table was a petri dish for data collection for behavioral scientists. You know that, Larry, don't you? Because that's what the fucking CIA does on a daily goddamn basis against Islamic State. They go in and they co-opt online discussion forums to figure out the psychological profile of the people participating so they can begin to pick them off. You helped that, Larry. You were part of the experiment. And apparently the experiment worked because apparently you don't have a fucking clue how anything works in the intelligence business anymore. Again, I apologize. I didn't want to get angry. I sort of waited for this thing because I was like trying to calm down. But man, this really irritates me because this is war. This isn't a game. I
know, and you feel bad. These are guys that you're previously friendly with, and it's a weird situation. And so, would you still welcome Larry coming on, or do you think that ship has passed?
No, I'll tell you why. Because Larry has done a couple interviews and he wrote a couple things, and it's unforgivable. I have a fucking phone, Larry. You've called me before. Before you go on and commit to shit to call me crazy in public like that, call me up, talk to me, ring, ring. You could do that, Larry, but you didn't. You know who did try to call you to get you on? Me, call you. Jeff, tried to call you. We at least gave you the courtesy of coming on and having this thing talked out in public before I went out and did this. But I'm not going to sit here and wait all goddamn day long while you sit there and drag my name through the mud, calling me crazy, saying I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I ain't perfect. I make a mistake every hour, sometimes every minute. I know that. And, you know, sometimes my mouth gets ahead of my analysis and I have to bring words back. But I'm pretty goddamn good at what I do, Larry. And what I did professionally was intelligence for a long time at every goddamn level. And I know what I'm talking about here. And you know that I know what I'm talking about. But you can't admit it. Neither can the others because you've been co-opted. Go back and look at your goddamn roundtable conversations with Gonzalo Lira and tell me who's in charge of the narrative. Is that you going on voicing your opinion strongly, or is that you playing little puppy to Gonzalo who's telling you how to tune your fiddle? I watched it, Larry. I watched not all of them because there's a whole bunch of them, but I watched about 20 of them over the course of the last couple of days, just trying to get some insight into this. Because I read the GCHQ training document, and I'm going, man, look at what they're saying. Look what they're doing. This roundtable sounds an awful lot like what they're talking about. And then I watched the roundtable. Yeah, that's exactly what they're talking about. And if it isn't, if the FCU wasn't running it, they're still getting everything they want. But that's indirect, and you can't blame Gonzalo Lira for that. But again, no one's answered the question. How did he get a goddamn computer, and why was he allowed to continue to do the shit that got him arrested prior? No one's answered that question yet. Until you answer that question, he's a flipped asset.